Hey everybody, it's good to see you all again. This segment is just to kind of let you guys know what is going on in this episode. So, in this episode, there is a situation. Towards the end, or anywhere in this episode, there is a blank. That means there's no sound coming in the episode, and you might think that is your fault. That is my fault. You can blame me, say it was my fault, because that is editing problem, and that's because of recording and the recording platform that I use. If that happens to be in the episode, if that's in it, what you need to do is to just disregard it. Don't worry about it. Consider it like an ad break. Consider it like a break. Consider it like we're taking a 5 minute break. Consider it like that. So no freaking out. No need to worry. Make sure you guys enjoy the episode. Enjoy what's in it, and y'all have a good one. And enjoy this one. Really enjoy it and have fun. And please disregard the blanks in there. Consider them breaks. Hope you guys enjoy this episode, and thank you guys for understanding and for your cooperation. Yes, yes. Hey, Melly, good to see you. Welcome to another great interview of season three. I'm here with the legendary TapDaddy, who I've mentioned a lot in the past interviews I did. He is, well, in my view, very well known. I'm not sure it's worldly, but in my eyes, very well known. He's got a
Well,
lot going
shucks.
on, and we gotta dive into it. So thank you so much for coming here.
Hey, of course. And yo, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, of course. It's such an honor. Like I told you before, but I've heard so much, and I've listened to your beats and your music for a while. In fact, I an hour ago, past from setup, your music was actually playing in the background.
Oh, nice.
I was playing it because I went out doing errands, and it was in the car, and they kept hitting my seat, and they were like, "What is that?" They called it racket, and I was like, "That is not racket." Like, I couldn't believe they called you that. They called it, and they kept kicking my seat, and they were like, "What the hell is that?"
What is that? Yeah. Man, I'm glad to hear though that you're, out listening to it in errands. That's pretty much what I've gotten when I'm just like driving around town. I love to just like put it all on, shuffle because I've got at this point like probably about 200 plus tracks up on like Spotify and all that. I don't know, it's just like good driving around music.
Yeah, it's comfortable too. Like I was even playing it when I was doing work, like when I was doing paperwork, and your music
Oh
is
yeah.
just comfortable. Like, how are you able to make so much music? 200's a lot. How are you able to make so much?
It's like I honestly so about like a year or two ago, I decided I was gonna do this professionally. So and I was kind of picking the brain of like there was this other producer that I met on Reddit, Stafford, who was like telling me about selling beats and like all that. And it was around that time that I decided like I first started like I'm gonna make a beat every single day and release a beat every single day because I was just like I want to make a catalog that I can like shop by rappers, put up my beats for sale and all that. And like, man, okay, so I was only able to keep up with 7 a day releases for like about 3 or 4 months, 5 months maybe, but like yeah, that was pretty good. Then I started streaming on Twitch, rolled that back to like 5 per week, and now I feel like I'm at the best kind of place where I'm releasing 3 per week, and like I'm really putting out music videos for all of these and whatnot. But point is though, is that like man, the consistency of like putting them out has done so much for me, just in terms of like sheer practice at music production. I mean, Jesus, I've been producing for like 10 years and I haven't grown nearly as much as, I have in like these past 2 years, And so like, I don't know, the first goal was really just like, I'm going to make as big of a catalog as I can so that I can really work effectively with all these artists. But like, I don't know. I just love the fact that now I've got this huge collection of beats that I can just like listen to anytime I want, and it's just like I love having the excuse to put out so much music, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm glad for that. Like, I'm glad you have so much so people don't always run out of music from you. Like, they get to stream your stuff how much they want to. They never run out. Like, that's genius what you do.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it's a strategy I wish more musicians would do, like start releasing more stuff so that when they listen to it, they don't lose out. Like, they get to listen to it over
Yeah.
and over again.
Yeah, I can't stress enough how much consistency and like how much sheer volume has done for me, you know? And I think that this is a little bit different for producers, you know. We get in these like I don't know. I always am encouraging producers to like do a bunch of music production outside of the actual sessions where you're sitting down and making a beat. Like, I'm making sample material, I'm gathering drum breaks, I'm doing all this stuff so that when I can sit down with to make a beat, I try to set a goal for myself. Like, I would love to be able to have something incredibly fleshed out and nuanced within about 2 hours. Because I think that that's like kind of the time frame that you want to be moving at. If you're like, you know, you've got an afternoon with an artist, you've only got the afternoon with them. You want to be able to make something from scratch with them, you know. So it was really all practice of like, I want to be able to do this professionally. I want to be able to really give my hardest game, you know, within like a afternoon session with an artist, you know. And I think it's really just like kind of approaching from that mindset, you know, and this is just true for so many producers, is like really it's about like how many beats can you make. And I think this number is different for everyone depending on what kind of music production you're doing. But like, I don't know whether it's like you're doing these productions that take an entire week, you know, like 20-hour productions, or you're doing these beats that are maybe take more like an hour of production. I think that, you know, whatever genre you're in, you know, it's justified. But I encourage people to really like, you know, if it takes you 7 days, maybe see if you can get that down to 5 days. If it takes you 2 hours, maybe see if you can get that down to an hour. Just like streamlining your process, because I don't know, but like what that's done for me is like I've just produced so much music, and I've like grown so much as a producer. Like I was saying earlier, I've produced for like 10 years, but the first 8 years of that was really just like playing around with music production and whatnot. It wasn't until I like really like was like, okay, I want to do this professionally, that, you know, I was able to move at such a rate. But I mean, like, man, the amount of growth that you see when you really like hit consistent, you know, you actually start to see your audience grow from week to week if you really do have stuff to put out every single week, you know. Like, I think what I never really understood was that like I would spend like a year or two working on an album, and it's like that would be cool for whoever might have heard that album, you know, after I spent a year working on it. But like, I wasn't able to retain an audience, you know. For the first time, I was able to actually like have you know, people that actually wanted to hear my music because they recognized me, they saw me around posting new stuff. So like, I don't know, that's like my biggest advice to like whether you're an artist or a producer or whatever, you know, you do musically. Like, I think consistency is key, because people need to remember you and ultimately decide to like go to your music and like be like, oh yeah, yeah, I recognize that guy. I've seen him around. Like, his music is dope, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yes. Like, thanks for that. Like, that was the best advice I ever heard from a producer, and I've met a couple, and that was the best.
Yeah.
That was the best.
Hell yeah. Thank you. I don't know if I'm just ranting, but I guess that's what podcasts are for, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a place to rant because the world out there doesn't like you ranting. That's what this place is for. This and TV shows and all that. This,
Oh,
this is what the place
exactly.
is
Yeah.
for. So you go on as much as you want. You know, I have the time.
I feel you. Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for my showering, I wouldn't even come here. I would have forgotten. So
Yes, no worries.
sweet, sweet. And speaking of the beats, you use BeatStars and you sell beats. So I want to dive into that because there's people like there's a lot of producers nowadays that are selling, beats. They're going into the business. So, I wanna firstly start with this. How did you get started selling, beats and getting your business started? Started
Yeah.
working with others.
Oh, definitely. I think, and I really want to go back and kind of, explain where I was at before I decided doing this and kind of how I got my foot in the door. So like I was saying, earlier, I've been producing for about a decade, just for fun. And I was at this point in life where I had just graduated from college with a computer science degree, actually. And I was searching for like an entire year trying to find a software job in my area. My fiance found a great job in our college town, and I wanted to kind of stick around there. But it was difficult because, like, if you are in a science field like that and you want to stick around your college town, there's a lot of competition for that. A lot of people also want to stick around their college town. So I was having a little bit of tough luck there. I had to, work some IT jobs and whatnot. Point is that I actually did finally land a nice software job with a Fortune 500 company after a year of job searching. And then COVID hit literally my second week of working there, and I got laid off. And
Oh
I
my
was just like, oh man, I was feeling so defeated. I was actually in the middle of producing this album that I call the Bad Funk, because I was like really in such a funk then. I was kind of depressed about all that. Still haven't released that album. I've actually got an early access version of that I have on my Stream Elements store for people that have heard me talk about that album and and all that. Well, point is, I was producing quite a bit. I was working on this album. I managed to get like this IT job, working at a Microsoft data center, just replacing wires and whatnot. I would work like 3 or 4 days out of the week, these long 10-hour days in a different state. So it was like, long commute. I would spend about like 12 hours, 13 hours, like commuting and working. And then I would get home and I was like making these I had this tutorial channel about Ableton. It's like I have two channels on YouTube. I've got the TapDaddy channel that I was like making all these tutorials on, and I had, I would go on to make the TapDaddy Beats channel where I listed everything for sale. Point is like my mind was so invested in music production. I was like working on this great album. Like I still feel like the Bad Funk was like where I really hit, like made some big breakthroughs in my music production. Just in terms of like I don't know. This music was really hitting kind of the sound that I was really envisioning for like boom bap. I felt like it was very original, but it was like very like old school, and I don't know. I was feeling very confident in that, and I had like so many hours of just like in this data center, just like mindlessly scrolling through Reddit, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with music production and just like my career. And I was romping around r/making hip hop quite a bit. I mean, like I was on there all the time. People kind of knew Tap Daddy on there because I was just like spent so many hours waiting for tests to go on in this data center that I was just like typing paragraphs about music production to various, people on r/making hip hop. And I kept running into this guy Stafford Beats. And like he was like constantly posting about like strategy for like selling beats and like all this stuff. And that was the first time that it really occurred to me like, oh my God, people buy beats? Like people actually purchase music, like and I got to pick his brain a little bit through there. And yeah, he was telling me like, oh yeah, like people absolutely pay for beats, and he was kind of showing me what his business looked like. I knew that he definitely was selling a decent amount of beats back then, and was the money that he was like showing me like, this is how much I made last month from BeatStars. I made like $1,000 or $2,000, and I was like, oh my God, and this is coming from me that I'm like, I'm not quite sure what to do with my life right now. You know, I'm struggling to find a software job. I'm working IT, but I really don't really want to work IT. And, you know, it was just like I had so much time to really think on what I wanted to do that eventually, when that contract ended with Microsoft and I, you know, wasn't going to do that, it was either like I'm going to go back to job searching or I'm going to, you know, try to do something with music production. And honestly, it was really a push from my fiance. Like I had kind of explained to her like this idea of like I want to see if I can sell some beats, you know. I want to try that out and see. And when I finally got laid off, you know, she was telling me like, look, you seemed pretty stressed at the you know, at the software job that you did get. You know, I was honestly pretty miserable there anyways. I was kind of nervous about the whole prospect of being a software engineer because I'm not sure I liked my boss at that one job that I had, you know, and I was just like, man, I'm gonna have to go back into job searching for like another year. Like, I don't know. I wasn't looking forward to it. And she basically told me, like, look, your music is sounding really good, and you've got a little bit of stuff going on with like the YouTube channel. I see how hard you work at that. I know if you tried your hand at this, that you would be like, you know, you would really give it your fair shot. So why don't you just like do this? I'll get the bills for the next little bit and like go for it. You know, start your business. Like I think you really can do this. So from there it really was like, okay, let's do this. I'm gonna just, you know, at first it was I'm gonna just start the TapDaddy Beats channel. And at first I didn't even have BeatStars. I was just listing everything for sale through email. Um and yeah, like I made my first sale like I think 3 weeks later to like this artist Pestilence that I work with all the time now. Um and yeah, from there on I started to make like 200, 300 per month. It was still pretty small, and it is still pretty small like what I am earning. But you know what's crazy though is that I'm starting to build up all these other facets, you know. Now I've got all of my music on Spotify, and that's starting to be another extra little paycheck at the end of the month. I've been streaming on Twitch, hosting these rap ciphers and beat battles, and I've got this whole Discord community now, you know. And like even Twitch is starting to pay out a little bit, and it's kind of crazy because it's like I've just always been under the impression that like it was impossible to make money off of music, that it was impossible to make even a moderate living off of music. And now I feel so differently about that. I've met some people that, you know, really understand the business side of things. And so suddenly I'm a little bit more inspired to like, oh yeah, you know, there is actually a successful business behind every artist, behind every producer, you know, and it's just like a matter of figuring out what that business model is and really giving it your best shot, you know. So I went off and I started TapDaddy Beats like it's coming up on 2 years now, you know. And like, man, I'm just so glad that, you know, I got the opportunity to kind of like go out there and really go for it, because now I work about 70 hours a week, you know, at TapDaddy Beats, just like really keeping this going, keeping fun things going for my Discord, for my Twitch stream, and really just like doubling down on the music. You know, I've been collaborating a lot lately, you know. Yeah, anyways, that is a brief history of TapDaddy Beats.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. I was actually later on was going to even ask about your YouTube channels, but you
Oh yeah, yeah, no, definitely, and I'm sure there's still a lot to talk about in those.
sure for sure. I'm also lead into that. So the channels that you have, like, I don't really know what got you into, you know, making those YouTube channels and, you know, how they're an asset to you nowadays.
Yeah. So like it's kind of crazy. I always thought like beforehand, you know, YouTube seems to be one of the biggest places that people are searching for beats, you know. They're searching for type beats on YouTube. And at first it really was that like this is kind of the marketplace to put your beats up. Now I'm starting to see like, oh, you know, like everywhere is a marketplace. Everywhere where there is artists, there is artists who need beats, you know. Instagram has been pretty major for me lately. You know, BeatStars, the BeatStars marketplace, sometimes just like you get sales from that, and it's pretty nice. But you know, I always kind of had an affinity for YouTube, being that I was coming from a tutorial background. I was like making all these tutorials on just the TapDaddy channel, and like I don't know, I really had a lot of fun with the TapDaddy Beach channel because I feel like this is always kind of a struggle for each artist. Is like, yeah, you got the beats and they sound amazing, but visually, what are you gonna do there? And like it's such a struggle. I struggled in the beginning very much trying to figure out, like, I don't know. I saw people just using GIFs. I started to use that, and then I quickly started to get away from that because I was like, I don't know about like taking GIFs from the internet and just throwing that because I know visuals are like such an afterthought. But like lately, oh man, I've been doing some of my most, I would say like some of my most proud work. Every single beat that I've been putting out on the TapDaddy Beach channel has like an entire fleshed out music video for it. And I'm putting out 3 of these a week. And a lot of it has been really interesting stuff that I've just been finding in the public domain at like archive.org, um so like man, like lately it's been like a lot of like old kaiju movies, like just yesterday I put out this beat Monarch that I found this really bizarre like bike safety PSA that had like all these kids like with these monkey masks on, and upon releasing it, I saw a lot of people referencing the Boards of Canada music video that used the same public domain asset, but like it's just like really bizarre stuff. I don't know, like finding these public domain things has been. I kind of take inspiration from like the one album that had a huge impact on me when I was like 17 years old was Duality from Captain Murphy, which is the Flying Lotus spinoff, basically, where Flying Lotus actually rapped. And it was like this whole visual boom bap album that had like insane retro visuals that were very taboo, and like the whole album was like this visual album teaching you how to become a cult leader. It's like so taboo and bizarre, and I don't know, I loved this idea of like a visual album, and now to me I feel like TapDaddy Beats is kind of this platform where I can do content kind of in a similar vein where it's like audio visual hip hop kind of stuff, which I don't know, I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff.
For sure. And I'm starting to see that everything you make is a visual piece. Like the whole catalog's like it's like an art canvas almost. It's starting to become like a whole canvas.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's something that I never thought I was gonna be able to, like, achieve, the sheer work of, like, making a music video 3 times a day, but I feel like I've gotten it down. I feel like I've really gotten good at, like, kinda like crate digging and, when you're just sampling some hip hop, just finding, like, quote, unquote, "sample material," for the visuals as well is so
yes,
fun.
yes, yes. For sure, for sure. And your YouTube channels are about the same, and that's why they're so successful. They're so amazing, and I'm glad you're making them. I'm glad you have lots of content to share. So you can carry on another, decade, and you can say 20
Oh, yeah.
years into this, and it's been great.
Yeah. God, I can't even imagine what I'm gonna be doing in another 10 years. Like, I've grown so much and learned so much in these last 2 years. Like, I don't know. It's just crazy to think about what it's gonna be in 10 years from now,
For
even.
sure, yeah, totally. But that's everybody. They don't know, and they don't know what's gonna happen. So they just continue life how it is and just see how it goes.
Yeah, and like I feel like okay, I want to drop just like a little bit of advice just in terms of consistency and doing things over time because I don't know, Rome is not built in a night, and I think what's true about anybody who has these kind of pipe dreams is it happens to a select few, it happens for a select few, whether you're like trying to become a industry producer like I am, or you're trying to become a rapper, or maybe you want to be a movie star, whatever it is, like if you're following a pipe dream, I think it's a couple things you got to recognize is the chances are slim, but the people who it does happen to are the people who have stayed committed and stayed true to their craft and like just gone at it for quite a bit of time. And I think like really it's been like, I don't know, these YouTube channels have been, I've kind of stacked up interest in them over time. And, you know, I think what you see over time is that like you need to stay consistent, but you also need to always be changing, always trying new things and giving the new things that you're trying like adequate time to see how they play out, you know? So it's like, you know, my operation has changed so much since like 2 years ago when I was just putting beats up on YouTube and, you know, having rappers email me to buy them. Well, it's like now I've got BeatStars. I put it all up on Spotify. I make these music videos that, you know, hit the TapDaddy Beats channel. And then I go like shop them all around Reddit. And like, man, like Reddit has been very responsive to my videos lately, which has kind of like grown my Spotify. And it's like, these are all pieces of a puzzle that it took me a while of like experimenting with different things and kind of trying to figure out like, oh yes, this is going to be, you know, this is going to help me grow my Spotify audience or whatnot. And it's kind of like figuring out like what's worth your time and what, you know, you should probably cut out of your schedule. And I think that it just like these things, these really impossible goals, these pipe dreams, they do happen to a select few of people, you know? And it's just like I think it really comes down to being consistent and giving it your all and like not being afraid to try new things and change up your schedule for even months at a time to see if something works. And even then it's still a toss up for me. I'm still on my road, you know. I'm still trying to you know, build even further, but you know,
Oh,
it's been
that's
good.
good. That's
It's been
really good
good.
to hear. And I appreciate you for sharing that about pipe dreams because you know, people should know the reality of, you know, pipe dreams instead of just running to them and, you know, learning it the hard way. So at least they know now so that, you know, they don't find out the hard way later.
Yeah, you know, it really is like I think it's not crazy to throw years of your life and hours of your free time towards achieving, you know, a pipe dream. I'm always saying on my stream that like it's the things that you do in your free time that allow you to transition and go out on a, you know, on a ledge and really decide like, okay, for these next 6 months, my finances are taken care of. Like I've got a solid plan. I'm gonna release this album. I'm gonna, you know, do whatever your plan is. But like it's the things that you do in your free time that allow you to take the risks, you know, later on and go, you know, this isn't such a crazy idea. I've seen profit coming in from, you know, Spotify and t-shirt sales or whatever it is for your business and your art, but like it really is just like if I wasn't spending my 3 or 4 days that I wasn't working at Microsoft, you know, on an Ableton Live, you know, tutorial channel, I probably wouldn't have had the confidence to then like turn around and like actually try to like sell my beats and start streaming on Twitch and just doing all the things that I do now, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
And
yeah.
thanks for all of that. And I'm glad you're actually ranting, you know. So take from what we said earlier, and you know,
Yeah.
and now I'm actually loving it. So yeah, I actually want to dive into what you mentioned earlier, Monarch, which actually leads me to this other fun thing you did, which we talked about with I'm trying to remember who, but they are ghosts. We talked about it with merch line. You made one yourself. You made one. You made a merch thing. You did. Where, which was nice. You made alongside their
Oh
ghosts. So
yeah.
let's uh let me.
Yeah, that was the Killing Field Records guys that like, you know, I so like man, these guys are so great. They've been like they joined my ciphering community like almost about a year or so ago. And Their Ghost is just like another artist who came in and just like killed it in my cipher scene. And he was really looking for who's going to record his next, his album. He was feeling very inspired, like I was saying, it's what you do in your free time that allows you to go out and take these risks. And he was really looking to like buckle down and like actually give rapping a real shot. So he was like trying to figure out like who he's gonna be recording this with and whatnot. So he really ended up like and I'm sure you guys listening to go listen to the They Are Ghosts podcast for the full story on that. But like the thing is though is that like they've been doing all these cool things, and they're like such an integral part of my community, of my Discord and all that. Cryptic X, the mix engineer from Killing Field Records, he mixes down so many cipher submissions for like my ciphers that I hold every other Sunday. And like I don't know, they came to me with this idea of like, we want to sponsor your first half of stream. We want to like do a They Are Ghost documentary and actually premiere that on your stream, as it's gonna be, like, because there like so many people in my Discord are love They Are Ghost. They love Killing Field Records, and like we know these guys, we know their music so well. So Killing Field Records actually decided like, okay, we're gonna give away some T-shirts. We're gonna like advertise your stream. We're gonna give away T-shirts on your stream, and they were like these Killing Field Records TapDaddy collab on the back, and it has the They Are Ghosts on the front. Like, dude, they're so cool. Like, I don't know. I was geeking when I saw that when Cryptic sent me like the back of it, where it shows like the Killing Field Records, the X, and it says "Where Legends Are Born." It has my logo right underneath that. I was like, I don't know. It's like these small things where it's like suddenly you're doing really cool work with a bunch of people, and then you see your logo on like some piece of merch, and you're like, oh, like I don't know, coolest
Sure,
thing ever.
absolutely, and I love it. Like, I hope they have some more, because I would buy one myself and post about it. I would buy it myself.
Yeah. They were saying so like they were saying those T-shirts, and they actually sent me some
What?
Killing Field Tap Daddy Beats mugs, really cool. They sent some for both me and my fiance, and like, um, yeah, they sent us some mugs and whatnot, and like they were saying like they don't even have them for sale. That was really just like a giveaway. Which, hey, speaking of which, I think we're gonna be doing a small giveaway. Giving away like I think 2 more T-shirts in my Discord sometime soon. Just like hint, hint. If anybody's looking for that. But they do have some Killing Field Records merch. If you guys look on their website, they've got, I believe, some They Are Ghost merch, some Cryptic X merch, like all the guys, Jinx and like all of the Killing Field artists. They got some cool stuff over there.
Sweet. I have to explore your server a lot more. I have to explore it a lot more. I've only been there for like weeks, but I gotta
Kind
look.
of an interesting place, yeah.
Gotta look into that. And I don't know. Actually, no. I want to talk about Monarch. I know you mentioned Monarch, and you picked a nice cover on Instagram for Monarch. It's funny. I like it. Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know. There's just something so weird about like these kids wearing these monkey masks. And I don't know, they look very cool. They look very cool, which this is a very cool track. It's very R&B. It's very like I don't know. It was just like such a vibe. Sometimes you find gold in the
For
public
sure, for
domain,
sure,
and it's just like,
absolutely.
oh man.
I love the cover, and I love the song. I love the track. It's super incredible. I'm curious to know, like, how did that track come to be?
Thank
Like, how
you.
did that, come into your catalog?
Oh yeah. So like I do kind of want to talk about this because there's a lot of sounds in here that I think kind of indicate a lot of things that I've been playing around in my music production. I think most people know me mostly as a boom bap producer, and I would say that this is pretty boom bap. Um, but really, like, man, I do everything under the boom bap umbrella. Everything from like the hard '90s boom bap to like the chillest chill hop, the lo-fi, and I get a little zany with my stuff every once in a while. But one sound that I've been really starting to dip into has been R&B. And I think it's really because like my bass is so signature. That's a bass sound that I've been working on for like the past year and a half, getting this really nice bass sound. And like you'll hear if you listen to Monarch, just like how locked in this bass feels and how I've got like this um I don't know, this side chain that really makes this track like kind of high energy, but you hear like when the kick comes across just like these this bass line just feels so locked in with the track. And I think that that's just like so key to a lot of my music and what I'm trying to do with my music production is like a lot of it really comes down to the bass lines and the interaction between the bass lines and the drums and just like this feeling of like this utterly punchy kind of boom bap where everything's just so locked in. It just feels so nice. So like this track right here, Monarch, is very much like a so chill hop. Like, you listen to that piano. I actually laid down yeah, every bit of this was actually recorded in house, I believe. I'm trying to think about like the how the sampling broke down on this. But yeah, like I basically I recorded that piano myself. The drums I made myself from like one shots and all that. That bass line, like I was saying, is
Yeah.
very like signature TapDaddy sort of sound. And the only thing truly sampled, I think, the saxophone, which I, really just like took a little saxophone like melody and just kind of like chopped it up and really um kind of delayed it out. Point is like I'm mostly a sample based producer. However, lately I've been building like mostly everything in house lately, and I don't know. I've just lately it's really been like that's kind of been the kind of stuff that I've been wanting to do is a lot of this stuff that's a little bit more funk and a little bit more like R&B and just kind of you know focused on this cool vibe of just like this satisfying bass line. um Anyways, yeah, I could rant about my music all day. I feel like I just rant about like more high concept ideas of like I like my bass to just like feel like this and I don't know. A lot of what I produce has really come down to just like the feeling of the bass line, and how impactful I can get that sounding and how smooth I can get that
No
sound
worries, no
kind of
worries at
down.
all. Like, I actually love it, and you should. This is your space to do it. Like, you should never be sorry, or even,
Yeah.
mention it, because this is your space. Like, the world doesn't, they don't care out there, what you have to say or what you have to, know, what you have in your package. But this is your place to rant and to talk and to talk for hours. Like that. This.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it because, like, man, I feel like this is all stuff that I talk at ad nauseum to my fiance. We have like so every Friday we started calling it exclusive Martini Friday. It used to be that I would put out an exclusive drink or an exclusive beat, and then we'd make martinis and listen to Tap Daddy beats and just talk about what's going on. I feel like this is the kind of stuff that I'm like talking with her about. Is like, oh man, but like I've been playing around with this bass patch, and like I've got this crazy idea for if I could get like if I can get this producer to come in and lay down this one thing, like I don't know. We're always talking kind of in the works. Lately, it's been a lot of just like, oh, whose sound has been sounding cool lately is like, you know, we talk about people that are shot by music in my Discord, honestly. Like people that I do live feedback on Twitch and I meet all of these artists and producers who do, I really get involved with like what their sounds are because I critique their music live on Twitch like 3 days a week. Um And so like yeah, a lot of what we talk about is just like, the sounds that I'm chasing and just like, oh, what would be sick is this. And a while ago, one that a collab that actually came to fruition purely through, people that I've met in my Discord was this playlist collab. This producer named Playlist who just like does some of the smoothest R&B jazz kind of stuff. And he to me like a notable sound of his is his guitar, how he's got this perfect R&B guitar, this delayed out guitar. Um, well, lately, like, I've been kind of branching out in terms of like collabs. I've been working with artists to record beats with hooks. I've been, kind of reaching out to more musicians and whatnot. So I reached out to him just to ask, like, dude, I've got this beat that it just needs one more layer. It would be so perfect. And like, man, I sent him this beat. It's called Dreams. It's this probably one of the most R&B tracks that I've made, and I feel like this is kind of what got me going down this path of like R&B sounds. Um Point is though, is like, yeah, I sent it to him. I got it back and I mixed down his guitar. Oh my gosh. It is like such a like I don't know. The best way that I can describe it, it is like such an I believe I can fly type beat. It's very like 90s soulful R&B. I know R. Kelly is canceled, but like that's the sound. Is very like it's very like that soulful sort of grand like I believe I can fly type of like grandness to it, very grandiose sort of R&B. Like I don't know, that's really impacted like a lot of the sound I've been chasing lately. Like I kind of went for a bit of a similar sound in like the track Poolside. I've been kind of getting a little bit more digging into that more like suggestive sort of like saxophone sounds with like my track Lovebird. And like I don't know, it's been definitely kind of a vibe I've
Well,
been
he
kind of
keeps on
chasing
going for
lately.
sure, for sure. It's rubbing off. He's rubbing off on everybody. Like that's the kind of vibe we should all look for.
Hell yeah. That's what's up. I'm glad. I never know. Like, it's always kind of a in the back of my mind when I am trying new sounds like that. It is kind of like, oh God, I wonder what my artists are gonna think of this, Because like secretly in the back of my mind, when I am producing these beats, like the artists who lease for me the most are the artists who I end up producing for, honestly. When I start a track and I'm like, oh, this one sounds like it's going to the Bees, or this one sounds like it's going to Daryl Joseph, or like this one sounds like it's going to They Are Ghosts. Like it totally influences me. But at the same time, sometimes I get off on some weird shit. I I just think of this track like Metropolis that I did that is like so zany and like funky and fun, but like it's very much like it's these kind of tracks that make you question like, oh God, are my artists gonna think I'm just whack after this? Like I don't know. It's always a question, but honestly, I just try to chase whatever sounds I'm particularly vibing with, And I give this advice to so many artists who come through my stream, which is like if you're trying to be original and contribute something musically and like not just chase other people's sounds, but to truly come up with something unique and original and get other people to connect with it, you just got to really trust your gut. Trust your taste in music. Trust the things that you like in music, that other people are going to hear that too in your music, and that they're going to connect with that and be like, wow, that is fantastic. Like I think that is going to be like the best approach to music. And they're just like, you can try weird shit as long as you're really vibing with it. As long as you particularly are like really vibing with it. I feel pretty confident that like that's kind of how original music really gets made, is somebody's vibing with something in particular about a genre, about an artist, about maybe an album that they heard. There's just something about that really caught their ear. Like that to me is I think forever like the first way forward. Like forget what's popular, forget what's trendy, and that stuff does come into play when it comes to, I would say more like after the fact, once you're trying to figure out how to market your music. But when you're actually making the music, I think really the important thing is when you're developing your sound, whenever you're, doing all that kind of stuff, just really staying true to like what you like about music, like I love boom bap. I'm sure I could sell the shit out of like some trap beats and whatnot. I'm sure that I could probably you know do a 180 and make Rod Rich type beats or whatever, but like I don't know, I wouldn't be having fun if I really wasn't being true to like the kind of music that I like to listen to. And I think that people wouldn't be connecting with it like they do if I wasn't being true to like the stuff that I like
Yeah.
about music.
And I'm glad you said that because
Difficult.
I learned so much. Like I learned so much in this short time, like about you. It's crazy how time works, and I've learned so much. It's insane. Like I've gone from just
Thank
hearing
you.
your name to like actually just seeing you like this. It's so surreal.
Hell yeah. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I was so glad to see that like DOM recommended me to you. Like, I don't know, DOM is the coolest. I gotta just say that foremost. Like, I'm so glad that DOM connected us. And but yo, shout out to DOM, by the way. I know he's got some projects on the way. And yeah, like if for those of you that don't know DOM of D&D, he's an awesome guy that swings through for pretty much every one of my ciphers and spit some dope stuff. He just did something crazy for Cry of a Giant. Like he was flowing on that track. That was a cipher we just had this last Sunday. I don't know. It's
For
just
sure.
nuts.
And shout
Like
out to you, man. You've
it's some
helped me
cool
a
stuff.
lot, and he's amazing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, man. I love doing
I think it's
podcasts. I love
pretty clear
ranting.
now.
I don't know if that's evident or not.
It's pretty clear now, but that's
Yeah.
alright with me. That's alright with me. I
Give me a
love people
microphone.
that
I'll
get
just
to
talk
talk.
at
If you're
people.
comfortable, that is. I will not do that for everybody. Like, if you strain your voice or if you talk
Oh yeah.
muttering or murmuring, that's like, we have to cut 20 minutes. I'm sorry, we have to cut. But, but,
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of difficult. It takes practice to be able to talk. I
yeah,
feel like I'm comfortable just like ranting about ideas
it
because I
does.
stream
And
so much. So,
it takes the right
it takes
person
practice.
for even a conversation. Like you're very you and their ghosts and people like that. They're comfortable. I can talk to them for like hours, and it wouldn't even feel like a questionnaire. It would just feel like me talking to you over the phone, or
Oh
just
yeah.
like us hanging out. That's. I wish that's how every conversation is, but I've had my worst days. Like
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, man. Like I've definitely done a handful of interviews, just various podcasts, and I actually really
yeah,
appreciate it when people just like let people rant, Like I've definitely done some podcasts in the past where they're like, okay, let's play 20
yeah.
questions now, and it's like, all right,
That's
but
what I
I'm
had to
sure I'm
learn.
sure the
Like
fans would like to hear more about the music,
that's
but
what I used to do too. I used to do games, but I realized people are more interested in hearing about the artist and about their life, other than just some silly games you can just watch on YouTube yourself.
Yeah, I mean, like for some podcasts, maybe that is the way to go. It keeps kind of things moving, especially if things are kind of getting slow. But like, I don't know. Like, I can always
Yeah,
appreciate an interviewer that just kind of lets the person rant because I don't know that's what I'm always like. Whenever I'm listening to podcasts, I'm like,
that's
yeah,
what this is gonna be
I just want to
for.
hear the
Like
artists
this
go
is what this is gonna be for when you
do their
listen or
thing.
when you share it out. Like
But
people won't have to skip buttons or anything. They'll get to listen to you all straight through and all the stuff you said. So they won't have to skip or they won't have to say, oh my god, this is happening.
Yeah. Yeah, trust me. Oh man, I know how it is editing the ands and ums. When I was shooting footage for like the
Oh my,
TapDaddy tutorials, I was a
oh
very
my
awkward fellow
god.
and not very good at talking to a camera. It was
As you
funny,
should,
but
as you should,
yeah, I
as you
feel way
should.
different
And you've
nowadays.
got so much. I mean, I hope you can take this idea into consideration, or you might have it now, but since you know so much and since you do tutorials already, like maybe a label's next, have you thought about it? Because I'm not saying that out of spite. I really think you could do it. Like,
Ooh.
I really think you could, and you know, it's possible, and I have proof. Because I've worked with multiple record labels that are very small. But you would be really good.
Yeah, yeah, God, I love labels, honestly. Lately, my impression of labels, like, I feel like from an outsider, you learn about, like, the big 3 labels, and then you're like, "Labels are evil," but, I think the real truth of it, though, is, like, you know, you find these small record labels like, guys, small record labels are as common as independent artists. There are so many, like, there are 2 major, like, well, 2 major to me. Um, there are 2 labels that I've done a lot of work with in the past. One is Two Face Media. They're a great label, very active in the Wisconsin hip hop scene. And then the other is Killing Field Records, killing it over in Nebraska. What I love about these labels is like, look, these are not like flourishing businesses by any means. These are usually just like a group of guys that have the means to, have a recording space, to have a mix engineer to mix things down, to make music videos, to host live shows. I see Two Face Media hosting shows all the time out there in Wisconsin, which is so cool because I can send a beat to my homie Pestilence on like a Wednesday, and I can get footage of it being like performed live in front of an audience that Saturday, and it's like that's like what's so cool is like these
Yeah.
are the guys that are equipped enough that I feel like are gonna really break the mold. I see everything that Killing Field Records is doing with They Are Ghosts. I'm like, yes, I think that they're so gonna break the mold, like somewhere along the ways, whether it's They Are Ghosts and it's, or it's Enemy X from Killing Field Records, or it's like Pestilence from Two Face Media. Like, these are the guys that really have the support system to like make great music and captivate an audience and like do cool content. Like we saw the very awesome like They Are Ghost documentary that we just watched on Sunday. Like, I don't know, I from a producer perspective, like I see labels like this and I'm like, yes, I want to do business with them because not only are they gonna like buy my beats and it's gonna go to some fantastic artists, but I know it's gonna end up landing with an
Hmm.
audience in the long run. And I feel like honestly, that's what I care about. Like, sure, it's great, selling beats to pay the bills and whatnot, but I think the real reward of producing, because I want to make this clear first and foremost, if you're getting into music production for the money, you'll probably make more money working at Walmart, just like straight up, but I think the real payoff is when you do like send an artist a beat on Wednesday and you see it connecting with an audience by Saturday and you're like, oh my gosh, look at these guys. They're like on the brink of moshing. They're like, like these guys over here are like, you can tell the audience is so into it, or like, man, that is just booming in that space. Like, it's these things that I would have never experienced had I not put a more professional foot forward and actually put a price tag on my beats. Like, seriously, these labels, like these artists with these labels, they're not going to work with producers who aren't going to sell them rights to their beats, like at a higher level, these people want to lock in like, And this isn't to say like you literally sell them the masters of it. What I do is I lease beats and I still, do a publishing split, or I offer them to buy it exclusively and whatnot. And labels are great because I've got so many artists that really need beats. And I feel like as a producer, it's so advantageous to kind of become an ally to a bunch of labels and like, really like get in with them and get in with their sound and their artists, and they understand kind of what they're trying to do. So like, I've worked with like Killing Field Records, I've worked with Two Face Media, and there's actually some other labels that like I've definitely sold beats to. Hell, there was this one artist from Japan that I remember. There was like this huge language barrier, but we figured out enough to where I sold an exclusive to this artist who had like around 10,000 Instagram followers, and like it looked like his label was actually pretty legitimate in Japan. I don't even know. I don't even know whatever came of that, but it's like I feel like labels honestly are a producer's best friend, in the long run. And it makes sense to really become friends with these guys and to really support what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish. That's what I'm trying to do for all the labels that I'm friends with, nowadays. I'm trying to support them and really like help out their artists in any way I can, because their success is so important to me. I want them to really like land, because as a producer, like that's the best you can hope for, is that you make great music with someone who's actually going to deliver it to an audience, and actually your beats are actually
Yeah.
going to get heard and enjoyed, and like
Yes,
that's the
yes.
end goal.
And I really feel like you could do it. I mean, I'm not saying decide now, but I would really take an account, because I know what you're thinking. I know what you could be saying, but I don't know. You just be really good at it. And, and here's another.
Thank you. The reason why I haven't signed though to anybody is because I think long
Oh,
term,
that's
like
fine.
I'm saying way far in the future, I might even have a label of my own. And I'm kind of like I see the value of remaining independent, because honestly, if I can make a good impression with these guys, then I can work with their artists regardless of having to tie myself down with like paperwork and obligating myself to a certain label. Now that said, I definitely have some homies like my homie Ira. He's a fantastic producer from Serbia, and he's signed to one of the top three labels in Serbia. And if you know anything about, which I'm sure that this is kind of, this is just because I have a global stream, I kind of know these things. Is Serbia, like all of the major music that comes out of Serbia that's popular music for all of the Balkans. So like being part on a top three label for such a major musical country, like if that's huge placements. That's like songs that are getting like 35 million views and whatnot. And so I've been like following pretty closely to see he's doing on his Serbian label. I know that he's been like really on the verge of getting placed with some huge artists, and it's like it's because he's signed, it's because he's signed and he's, got all these connections to there. And like, I do see the value of signing to a label, but like, man, I think from my own experience, I kind of see it as more like, man, I'm about to have all of the resources necessary to start a label, and one day I do kind of aspire to own my own studio space at the very least, like a commercial, like a public studio space. And I think when it really comes to that point, I want to leave myself open to be able to start my own label if I ever choose to. So that's where I'm very to like sign paperwork with labels, but rather instead, I think what's been pretty major for me, and what I would encourage for most producers, that what I think makes the most sense when you look at it from like a business model standpoint, is to be more of a third party business, but to still like make those connections with that label and to really like invest yourself in their artists, like I know that when I start doing really meaningful work with an artist, that's who I end up producing for, regardless of, whether I've sold them the beat or not. Like, I'll end up making beats with like, yes, this one is definitely one for the bees. Like, I've got the bees in my mind when I'm making this, or like They Are Ghosts. Like, this is definitely a They Are Ghosts type beat. Well, regardless of whether the beat actually goes to him, regardless of whether he's actually he buys that beat or not. Like, it really is like, this is what it means to kind of like support your artists and like really like get invested in the sound of the artist that you do the most work with, and the artist that you're the most passionate about like working with. That's kind of like the big overarching mindset that I try to have. It's like small things, like the like small collabs where
Yeah.
we watch the They Are Ghost documentary on my stream. It's like all these different ways. You don't necessarily have to sign paperwork to do work with these labels, but there are times where maybe signing some paperwork might be the best way to do it. But I don't know. I've just been very skeptical about it, and I've always kind of taken it as a, TapDaddy Beats is sort of its own business, its own kind of conglomerate of things. Um, and I kind of hope to remain that way. I hope to really make TapDaddy Beats kind of its own musical entity,
Yeah.
that kind of helps support a
But
lot of
that's what I
other
meant was to
musical
make your own.
entities.
I didn't mean signing to one, but from before, that's what I meant. I probably should have said that,
Yeah,
That's what I meant. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's no
I
worries.
got you.
I thank you
Sorry,
for
I may have cut you off.
for doing so. But you really should, make your own universe. That'd be really fun if you did. Would you really should look into making your own. That'd be so fun.
I think so. I think so. Like, honestly, the order of precedence I see it as is like, okay, well, TapDaddy Beats, that's like my beat store, that's my brand, that's like, all that good stuff. And I think I'm gonna grow that to a size to where maybe I can open up a public studio, and then I could actually bankroll like some mix engineers and just audio people to help set up the audio. You always have somebody there just like, helping adjust your microphone and all that. I think that I would love to get it to a point where I can actually afford to open up a public studio space, and then from there I think I'll be like really equipped to actually start making my label, which I think that is the long-term goal, like a TapDaddy Beats label basically. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the future holds. I feel like these things kind of, it takes planning ahead of time, but sometimes it's also like just a matter of
Absolutely.
seizing opportunities as they
I totally
present
agree.
themselves to
I
you,
just hope in the future that you consider, because I could see a lot of things in your label, and hopefully when you do, I'll be there and I'll remember this conversation.
Hopefully. Hell yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I hope
Yeah,
next time that we're interviewing,
I hope
hopefully it'll
so.
be interviewing me about
We'll
my new
think
label.
back. We'll remember all of what we said. Remember that. But let's put a pin
Oh,
in that
yeah.
idea for now until it's out in the open now. So the idea is out there. So if if it goes popping off, if people really like the idea, you have no choice
Oh,
but to
yeah.
do it.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. I mean, hey, for any of you guys, well,
Actually,
listening,
you should
Tap
ask
Daddy
that in
label, what do you
the
guys think?
server, making everyone post and say what would you think of a record label. Then let's see if people actually likes it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could ask my server and just see what people think of it, cuz I think really like I probably got like a year or two at minimum before I'm probably going to be in a position to do that. But it's the kind of thing where it's like, I would love to see kind of like what my own server and what the artists that I work with would think of that, because like I don't know, that's very much like
You
I
should,
might even
yeah.
start, lining certain things up to make that happen, if it really is like if I really get the support to, like, I think I gotta start looking into it, because you raise a really good point of like, it makes the most sense just in terms of like when you see kind of the bigger operation of things. I've already got it set up so much to like treat my music as like I kind of treat my music as I'm both a producer, but people also enjoy TapDaddy as an artist, like I've got my own like Spotify listening, and if I know how to get my own music out there, I'm sure I could do the same for others. It's just it's just a matter of like building the resources, and I don't know, I've always had a build it and they will
Yeah.
come sort of
And that's
approach
what
to
I was saying
music that,
before. Like,
yeah,
you already
it's
have
been working
like
out for me so far.
the you need to start when you just have to start it. I mean, and you have support from people. That's how I knew about you. That's kind of why you're well known. So you already have like everything you could possibly need for a label. That's why I mentioned
Oh
it.
yeah.
Like, because you have everything.
I'd love to hear that, honestly, because it really is like, um I think that, it really just comes down to bankrolling. It's like, how am I gonna bankroll my mix engineers, and how am I going to invest in marketing campaigns for the artists? Like I want to make sure that I have enough cash flow and like, you know, capital to really effectively do it, because like man, I don't know. I see like a lot of the stuff that like Killing Field Records does, and I see a lot of the stuff that like Two Face Media does. And I think it's stuff that I could step up to. I think it's a lot of like, I see some very carefully orchestrated like marketing campaigns for like, their Ghost. Like when we just dropped his album, and that just kind of seeing the insight of like all of the posts that they did for that, the documentary that they made for that, like the advertising that they did for that. And on top of that, it was like sponsoring the first half of my stream to like, really have a place to premiere it. It's like you start to understand from a higher viewpoint of things how like a really well marketed album really takes a lot of orchestrating, and it's the same thing with like events that we host in my Discord. Me and my fiance, who everybody knows as Mrs. Tap Daddy Beats, she moderates this community and helps me. We always like to really drum up new like fun things to do with our Discord, fun things to do with our Twitch community. And it really is like I feel like the more experience that we get, like really putting together these well orchestrated bits of content, these well orchestrated bits of music, and just like promo, it's like there's definitely a science to it. And I feel like every day that we really try new things out and see success, even if it is small success, we see these things happening, and it's like, oh wow, that you know, one day we really could be doing this for other artists. And one day, um, I don't know. One day, I really look at like the Kenny Beats Discord, and I'm like, man, Kenny Beats is putting people on the map. Like, I could only hope that that
I
might be
mean, I feel
what
like
my
you can
Discord
do
looks like
more, with
eventually.
your server. I mean, just I would like to see some roles in there, some Discord lives in there. Like, you know, you should. You should.
We've definitely been needing to do roles. But yeah, we've got a lot of like fun smaller events planned. I guess not smaller events. Some of these events are pretty huge. Like in the past we've done this huge ciphering event that we call Cipher Frenzy, where basically we allow people to cipher on any of the past cipher tracks that we've put up, which at this point I think is around 50. And it's a lot of fun because we'll do things where like you get 50% off my beat store just for throwing down on Cypher Frenzy, you know? So like just for entering, you get a 50% off coupon that's like good for the next 48 hours, you know? And on top of that, then we do a lot of reach out of like anybody who's ever thrown down in a TapDaddy Beat Cypher. We personally invite them to come throw down in this one, this huge event, you know? We did that once, you know, and that was like our largest Cypher Frenzy, and that really grew our ciphering scene. And it's like these things where it's like, well, if you have a really great idea, hey, kudos to Mrs. TapDaddy Beat. Cypher Frenzy was like totally her idea. And it was great, you know. We brought a lot of people into our cipher. We definitely made sales that weekend on the 50% off sale, and you know, it really expanded our cipher scene. Like we got so many regulars after that have come back, you know. It's like small things like that. We've got like a 1v1 face off coming up on, I believe, Friday. We're gonna have like a Lauren versus DSK pan your hi-hats battle. Me and Cryptic X, the head engineer from Killing Field, we're actually about to do a 1v1 battle of funk music, because neither of us have ever made a funk beat, but we decided that would be like a fun 1v1 face off. And it's like all these small things that are like, you know, you learn how to really like plan these things out and hype them up and get people interested. And like suddenly it doesn't seem so impossible that, like, I don't know, maybe one day we will have the resources to do this for other artists, to do this on a more massive scale,
Yeah.
and actually kind of effectively
Yeah.
work like a label. I think that would
I
be
just really
sick, you know?
hope, that you make one soon. And all those things you can learn, and you don't even have to start off, paying. Like, you can start off as like a promotion service, like starting.
Yeah, you know, it really could. It could be more of a, you know, kind of a collective. And I feel like it's really opened my eyes lately, seeing how these smaller labels operate. It kind of shows you more at a bare bones level, like what a label is and what service they provide, which is really just like, you know, it's all the fixings that you need to really deliver like quality content. And on top of that, it's like having people that actually care about the marketing strategy, that care about, okay, this is fantastic music, but how are we going to get people interested in this? You know, how are we going to get this to people? And it's like that, I think, is the biggest bridge that independent artists have to cross eventually, and where most people kind of fall flat at. Because, like, let's be real, it's unless if you are like a marketing wizard, you know, it's hard to really get your music out to people who are going to enjoy your music, you know, without the help of like a marketing team or like somebody who has previous experience like doing this sort of stuff. I think that it's a lot more involved than people realize. It's a lot more than just posting it on YouTube and praying for the best, you know. It's like, man, now that I've from a higher level, like some of the promos, how people host live events, how people launch albums, how people, you know, launch merch even. It's like, it's a lot more of a science than I ever would have. And I'm actually like, I don't know, like, you know, coming into this, like, oh man, record labels, they're all evil. And then you really meet a record label and see
Oh,
what they do, and you're like, oh, like, this is sick. This is what every artist needs. But yeah, I don't know. It can be done independently, but I encourage a lot of you guys, like, seriously, if you're looking for like a label like that, like, they're out there. They're out there. They're not all in LA, and you don't have to be a part of a huge label to be a part of a successful label. Is, I guess, kind of the sentiment that I would walk away with, is like, you know, like, sure, they may be small, but you're also small, and you can build with
well,
each
thanks for
other
that.
to become
That
big,
that
you
was
know?
really important that you stated that, because a
Cool.
lot of them are looking into labels, so it's important that they know that. Thank God you said something. Thank the Lord that you came and you said that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. You know what was rare that I found out too is that you played piano, which was very, unique. I'm hoping your parents didn't force. I'm praying that your parents didn't force you,
Oh,
because
yeah.
most people, especially whites, sorry to be racist, but most of them force
Oh
them
no.
to do piano.
No, you're good. It is very like, learning an instrument. It's a very kind of privileged thing, but like honestly, really where that came from is like I've played piano since literally since I can remember. I think I was probably about 4 years old when I first started playing, but it wasn't like I was reading music really. It was like I was just making little compositions just by ear. I was just playing piano by ear, just making up music. And I continued to do that throughout my entire life. I think I actually got 2 years of piano lessons because I wanted to join percussion in band class when I hit like middle school, right? And I went on from there to like I studied percussion in middle school and high school, and I was like the drummer for the jazz band in my high school, and I really wanted to continue music education in college, but I was really like, I think my parents. If you want to go get a music degree, you're gonna have to pay for that
Yeah.
after you go get your science degree. So I did that, and well, look where I am now. I'm not working in science now. I'm, working in music. But like, it's just kind of one of those things where I never really, it was never really shown to me that like
Yeah.
music can be a successful business if you really learn what you're doing with music. I've always just done it for fun. I've done it like just by
Yeah.
ear for fun, playing piano for
And
the
you're
longest
right
time.
about, the success in music business. I mean, if you know what you're doing, it really can be successful. It's not always a waste of time, which, the assumptions are out there that music is a waste of time, which is it's not if you know what you're doing. Like it's not.
Yeah, it's not because just to give some healthy perspective on this, I feel like it's worthwhile off a healthy perspective because here's the thing is you can live off of music. Now that may look very different than what you initially set out to do because I'll tell you guys like sure I sell beats and all that, but I've definitely gone through periods of times where I've been doing private one-on-one lessons teaching people how to produce. I've done even mixing, even though I'm not a mix engineer. Sometimes I've had people be like, no, I want you to mix this down, and I'll be like, okay, $50, does that sound good? They're like, yeah, sure. It's like point is you might have to live a little below your means, and you might have to work a lot. But I think for a lot of people, it's worth it to work. Like I kind of have this mindset of I would rather work 70 hours a week for myself than 40 hours a week for somebody else. I would rather spend that 70 hours a week doing what I really love doing, which is music production. And like you can do like I don't know if people really know like what sync licensing is. That's like making music for commercials, for movies, for video games, that is a profession. Music producers do sync licensing, and you can make like if you know what you're doing in sync licensing. I've been trying to figure this out. I've definitely connected with a couple sync libraries. But basically, it's like that there are producers that make comfortably about 50,000 a year. Between 30,000 and 70,000, depending on like what your connections are like. You can make that much money from like producing for CSI Miami. Like beats. They all need music in the background when they're, doing the tests in the lab and whatnot. Like, like cable networks even, pay good money for, stuff like that. And it's like you might need to do a combination of all of these things if you're really looking into sustaining yourself with music. It might look a little different and it might be quite a stretch, but I don't at all want to give people the impression that it's at all impossible. I think it's very much possible. Like I've already like I feel like I'm making right now is pretty small potatoes compared to what I can be making, but I just see I pay close attention to like what other people's business models are when it comes to music and like see to really see where all of that money is coming from you start to see like, oh, I never knew that so much of music was selling t-shirts. You know, it's like stuff
Yeah.
like that that you start to like, until you've really tried it, these things might not be apparent to you, you
For
know?
sure, for sure.
So yeah,
And
it's something
I
to
think people should
play
just
around
give it
with,
a
you know?
try and just look into. I mean, look at you and your success. You know, it could very happen to anyone.
Yeah, and you know, I really like I want to kind of end again with it with this sentiment of it's what you do in your free time that can allow you to take some of the risks in terms of like actually going out and starting this as a career. You know, it's what you do in your free time that to justify some of the decisions and some of the time spent, you know? Like I would say like seriously for anyone that's like utterly motivated right. Okay, well, I certainly can't quit my job right now, but like I want to and I want to do music. Like make the most out of your free time. Work hard. Work super hard and just like put in the work because like seriously, the people who do make it in all this are the people who stay committed and really do the work and aren't afraid of hard work, you know? Don't be afraid of hard work because I guess the biggest sentiment is build in your free time as much as you can and don't be afraid to really like strive for your dreams, you know? It's like it's going to be hard work either way. If it was do it, but you know it's like you know you just gotta kind of put yourself out there eventually, and at some point it really might require a bit of a leap, but that leap might not be as scary depending on you know how much you've really been building in your free time. It's you know it really is just like give it a try, give it a shot, look into people's business models, see
Yes,
what people are doing to
yes,
like sustain themselves as they make more
and
music.
that needs to be praised upon. That you cannot avoid hard work. That's everything. That's anything you do. You can't avoid it. You can't even if you work from home and if you even if you do like a $9 per hour like convenience store, which is AKA loser job. Um, uh, in my world,
It's an honest
in
work,
my
you know. You
world,
gotta
because I
pay
live
the
in
bills.
Texas, so
However, right?
in my world, not loser. I don't want to say loser. That's a bad word. Like really, really low in a way. Mhm.
It's these jobs that you certainly don't want to see yourself at that same job in 10 years, right? And you're like, well, shit, I got to find my way out of this, you know? I
Mhm.
think that's where a lot of people in music are really at is they just hate their job and they're very passionate about music, you know? And like, I don't know, this is coming from someone who like I've gotten a computer science degree. I worked very hard in college and getting out of college, I worked very hard, you know, just in software and IT and all that. But like, you know, I've never worked as hard as I do right now. I think my work schedule is about 70-ish hours per week. I wake up at like 6:30 in the morning and I usually am working till about midnight every night, about 7 days a week, which is totally unhealthy, but it's like I don't know, I'm very passionate about it, and it's like, this is just what I love doing, you know? This is what I really enjoy doing, like, I felt a lot more miserable working 40 hours a week at software, you know? That was incredibly stressful, and I was not passionate about it. I was not as, you know, like, in love with software as I am with music, you know? And I think that no matter what job you're, you know, working just as at a store or whether you are in more of a rigorous field, you know, like, man, it's difficult, but just know that it's not everything in life is about you know having a salary. I think to some point it just comes down to can I live off of this and can I be happy with this? And you know, if you're happy working really hard at music, and you're okay with, you know, working extra hard to really build your own, like maybe this is for you, you know, maybe this worth taking a shot at. Maybe it's worth investing all of that extra, hours. Like I was saying, like I feel like the most difficult part of my life in terms of music and trying to make it work was like when I really was like I would work in a different state for 3 or 4 days a week, and then I'd come back and I'd shoot. I would like write, shoot, edit, and upload and promote an entire YouTube tutorial, which was like, man, I was just working around the clock, but it's just like stuff that I'm super passionate about. And it really is like, if you look at the community that I have now and whatever success I do have now, I attribute that entirely to like the hard work and just commitment that I've like put into this leading up to it, even when it really was just like hard work for only a handful of views or whatnot. Is the consistency that allowed me to see what I needed to change about what I was doing, and to the consistency of being around long enough to try new things, to see what's going to hit and see what's going to work. Like I had never known that doing live feedback on Twitch was going to be so successful, like I Twitch just making beats in front of a camera, and now it's like a lot of people like come to my Twitch stream for live feedback mostly nowadays. Is it's a really big live feedback crowd. It's just like these things where you got to commit long enough to understand like what's working and what's not, and not be afraid to like change something and commit to it for like 3 months to really see it play out. It's like it takes commitment, but it can be done.
That's like my default and everything you're saying. Like, I'm just praising up so they can hear you from the back. Because in the back they can't hear you, but I'm just doing that so I can hear you. It's crazy how you've progressed.
Oh, you're good.
You made your first album using Garage Band instruments on my MacBook, in the early 2000s, and it's crazy how changed from that. Like, is it weird? Like, how do you feel that's where your beginning came from?
Oh, it's weird because I mean, I feel like everybody's first album is really just goofing around in a DAW. You don't really have your picked out yet. Man, when I made that album, I was like 17 years old. Or 16 or 17. I was like, man, I was young, and really, I was mostly playing in metal bands. Actually, I was like the bassist for every metal band in my high school. But my sister, yeah, dude. Oh man, I loved metal. I was like all about it, and everybody needs a bassist because nobody likes to play bass. Everybody wants to be the guitarist that shreds, but nobody wants to be the bassist. So I was like mostly into like, death metal. I was like really having a lot of fun, very long hair, fucking skinny jeans and combat boots, very like looked very different back then, but I was having a lot of fun just around with some guys that were, just like very much just like, let's just play some metal and have fun with it. But, it was interesting though. My sister got this hand-me-down MacBook. This was probably around 2010, 2011-ish. Well, she ended up getting a new computer and gave me that hand-me-down MacBook. So it was a hand-me-down MacBook. This MacBook, I think, was from the year 2000. And I made an entire album just MIDI instruments from that. And like that was my first exposure to music production, and that's when I decided to start calling myself TapDaddy, actually, because one of my homies just walks up to me in band class, and my last name is Tapero, so he comes up to me and he's like, "What's up, TapDaddy?" just being goofy, and I was thinking then, like, I had no idea what I was gonna call myself. But I was like, okay, yeah, I'm making this like bizarre electronic music. I'll just call myself TapDaddy, and like it'll be funny because I'm like this scrawny, awkward kid. Like seriously, I was just so scrawny and awkward, and like TapDaddy. You don't exactly have me in mind when you hear that name. But like, so I just ran with it, and I've been TapDaddy ever since. And like, man, I don't know. I think I really started to come into my sound, like, and everything that I did after that. Rainy Day Acid. I did this hip hop jazz fusion album called To Be Perfectly Clear with my homie Alex Melzer, who was earning his master's degree in trombone at the time, and we were just like, you want to goof around with like some jazz solos over a hip hop album? Like that'll be fun, you know? And it's like things like that where it's like I really started to come into my element later on, but I don't know. I think that everybody, you know, thinks about like their first album, or like I've met so many people that really build it up like, oh, but I'm waiting to release things. I'm waiting for this reason or that, or this reason or that. And it's like, guys, it doesn't matter. People aren't going to listen to your first album, and it's okay. It's okay. Like, you're going to evolve so. The important thing is that you start now. Start now, put it out, like, publish everything. I don't know. Like, I really encourage people to just like put their music out there, and don't sit on there waiting for like stars to align and that you're going to be successful. Because like if I had waited and I didn't put that out, then I'm not sure I would have made To Be Perfectly Clear, and I'm not sure I would have made Rainy Day Acid, and I certainly wouldn't have gotten on The Bad Funk when I did, which ultimately led to all of Tap Daddy Beats. Like, it's a journey, and it only starts when you really start, you know? Like, that's my advice to pretty much everyone is like, start now. Whatever is hanging in your head of like, yeah, but I'm waiting for this, I'm that, like, stop waiting for perfect weather conditions. It's never going to be
Well,
perfect. Just
thanks for
get it
that. You
out there is
definitely
really
have
like
hit hard.
the biggest
Get
takeaway.
it? Hit hard. Sorry, but I was not joking. If y'all are into jokes, you'll get the joke. And I just wanted to just. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. I just wanted to thank. This was more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, it's good. It's all good. This was a lot of fun, man. This was like seriously
Well,
much for
thanks. It was the
having me
best
on
hour
and
of my
let me
day.
talk at you for an hour. No, this was a lot of
And
fun.
I've learned so much about your
Hell
life
yeah.
and about your music. And congrats on every single thing that is happening in your life. And may your success continue.
Thank you. Ah, yes. And yours as well. Yeah. Guys, everybody go follow Wrap It Out. Go listen to
I've been
Wrap It Out,
saying
okay?
that, but I don't. But
Drop
now
a
you've
follow,
heard
all
it.
that good
So
stuff.
I've been
Make sure
saying
to
that
do it.
season 3 is
Absolutely.
like this is season 3 now. So I'm doing it more than ever.
So, oh man. That's what's up. That's what's up. I was glad to see. I was like through past episodes. I was like, man, this guy's been at it
Thank
for a decent
you.
amount of time. And yeah, now I see why. It's a good podcast, man. It's a really great
Yeah,
podcast. I
you
got to
might
go
have to wait
listen
a
to that
little
Day Our
bit.
Ghost one after this. I'm
You
like,
might have to wait
oh
a
yeah,
bit.
I'm waiting for that
It
Day Our
didn't even
Ghost one.
premiere until like in September. Like it didn't even go in until September. So like you got about a month, two
It's all
months
good.
tops.
Woo.
Good. That's really good. That's really good.
Okay, yeah. I'll
And
keep
I
my
just
eyes
want to
peeled
thank
for
you
it
for
for
all the
sure.
advice you've given me and to the audience. I appreciate you a lot, and you'll be remembered for a long time.
Of course. I appreciate that. I really do. I'll definitely be making sure that the Discord knows that Tap's gonna be on Wrap It Out. So yeah,
Me too.
I'll be
And
singing your praise for
now I've
tops as
interviewed
well. I'm
three,
like
and
really excited for
hopefully,
people to hear this.
I'll get the whole server. Hopefully I'll get the.
Oh, yes, absolutely. No, seriously, there are so many good artists in the TapDaddy Beats Discord, like, so many solid and we have, like, such range, between people that are just starting out to, like, one that I don't think I've mentioned is actually Beta Hosts. They're a married couple that makes lo-fi together. They've got about 10,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. I know their biggest single has, like, 35,000 streams on Spotify. I don't know, they're doing really cool stuff. Point is man, we have a diverse group of people in the Discord. Like, it is nuts. I'm really looking forward to seeing, like, definitely the They Are Ghost interview. I'll have to go back, check that DOM interview, and, like, I don't know. I'll be
You.
keeping an
And
eye out for whoever
Daryl is
else
another one
be
who is in love with you,
having on
who
Wrap
I
It Out for sure.
pleasure having too.
Ooh, Daryl is such a homie. Good God. Like, I love Daryl, man. Like, for the first, like, 6 months of streaming on Twitch, it was a lot of Daryl and I just, like, hanging out during the pandemic when everything was just very locked down. Everyone was feeling very lonely. And I don't know, Daryl was like my homie. We were just, like, hanging out on Twitch, making beats, like, every day.
For sure. He's such a
I'm
chill
definitely
guy.
gonna be
I've
looking
enjoyed the
forward to the Daryl
conversation.
Joseph one. Oh man, that'd be sick. He is a really chill dude. Like, yeah, no,
Yes,
he's genuine.
yes.
He's a genuinely great artist, like, and just great person,
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Do you have? I know you've said a lot of, um, you said a lot that hit hard, but do you have any last words you'd like to have the fan leave with?
Well, I guess I'll just say this. Um, it's not impossible to make a living off of music. Um, And I think more people should know that. I think more people should take on this mindset that behind every artist is a successful business. There's a successful business behind them. And I really encourage you guys to look at that and, see this, like, see the prospect in that. Like, I don't know, I've just grown up always thinking that, like, it was just impossible to do anything with music, and in recent years I've just totally 180'd in that. I see so much is possible, and this has been the most fun, like, past 2 years of my life. It's just been so much fun, and I just encourage everybody to, like, if music is something that you're passionate about, like, I highly encourage that you put your best foot forward, because you never
Yeah.
know when you really buckle down and say, like, I'm gonna do this. You never know what kind of opportunities are gonna come
Well,
knocking.
amen
So,
on
like,
that.
I
I
guess
couldn't have
I'll
said it
end
better
on that.
myself. And my last message to you guys watching, thank you all so much. Tap Daddy literally everywhere. You literally Google him, he's the first one you see. He's everywhere. Yes, sir. Y'all go make sure you guys check out Monarch. It is all out where you see it. Instagram and Twitch is the best. It's the best that's out there. So you make sure you check it out. Tap Daddy Beats. And check out all his other socials. He has more to come. And much more in his pocket, in his catalog. And thank you all so much for watching and enjoying the season. More is coming, so you don't have to worry. Keep on supporting musicians. Love y'all. Peace out. Hello, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight as we dove into a wonderful podcast episode. Now, in this following segment, you will get a chance to hear this artist's showcase, because every artist that comes on the show requires to do a showcase. So, buckle up, get some popcorn, and enjoy the showcase. I hope you guys love it, and check out the artist when you get a chance to. Hope you guys love it. Enjoy.